Welcome back to another episode of the Game Language Podcast, where we deduce, dissect, and discuss video games and whether or not they speak our language. I'm Troy, and with me always is
Jason.
What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
Recovering.
Oh, I bet. You had a late night, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm a little too old to be partying like I did. But feeling, I'll be all right. I'll recover. But what you been playing lately?
What have I been playing?
Mm-hmm.
What haven't I been playing? It's
that's
freaking release season
Yeah.
right now. I've been still plugging away at Dragon Age, the Veilguard.
Yeah.
I beat Sonic and Shadow Generations last night.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. Path of Exile 2 and Marvel Rivals.
Where do you find the time?
I don't find the time. I'm actually always just sitting here at my computer desk being like, okay, finally, I can make some progress on some games I've been working on, and bunch of invites. Lethal Company? Isn't that from last year? And it's like
Yeah. Gosh, no, Lethal Company. That was some of the most fun.
that was a ton of fun. No shade at all for the invites, but I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, I'm still trying to beat the game that came out on Halloween over a month ago, and I still haven't finished it. And then everyone's like, "You want to play this new game that just came out?" Yeah,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
yeah. What have you been playing?
Oh, same. I've been playing a lot. I've also been putting a little bit of work into Dragon Age: The Veilguard when I can. Been playing some Metaphor Refantasio. Now that I've got it all fixed, I had to do a few different mods to get the ultra wide and everything to work, but it's been fun. Just takes me back to the old like RPGs. Haven't played a lot of their games thoroughly. You know, I didn't play any of the Personas up until 5. So this is exciting for me because I think this one calls a little bit more to my preferred setting, with it being fantasy and whatnot, and not having to go to school, because I already don't do well with school, or didn't do well with school in real life. I don't want to do poorly at it in a video game. So
Yeah, that's why I always feel bad when people recommend me Persona games, because I'm just like, I do like RPGs. I always bounce off in those games because I'm just like, I can't stand the schedule and I can't stand the setting.
Yeah.
Like, this is an M-rated title, and I'm a 16 to 17-year-old having to talk about my feelings and getting cooties. I don't care.
No. But aside from that, I've been playing Marvel Rivals, which I'm woefully addicted to. It scratches that itch that Overwatch hasn't been scratching, or any other multiplayer like Battle Arena. Well, kind of Battle Arena, but yeah, I've been liking Marvel Rivals a lot. It's just surprising how polished the game is on visuals. So I've been liking that. And then finally, I've been playing some Path of Exile. Should be playing more of that, but you know, Marvel Rivals got me in a chokehold. It just fucking kidnapped me and dragged me into a room. It's just like, you're playing this game.
I know. It's funny how it chokeholded you.
Yeah.
But then another burglar assaulter chokeholded me, but with Path of Exile.
Yeah.
And we're both watching each other get dragged off away. Because that's how it feels. Is I was like, come with me. And you're like, come with me.
Yeah, but safe to say we've been playing a lot.
But yeah. But, you know, that's what we've been playing. But let's find out what's going on in the world of gaming with our 3 bites of news stories this week. First bit of news this week. Cyberpunk actually hit another sales milestone. Hit 30 million sales.
Wow.
Which is outrageous. I didn't expect it to sell that much. It's kind of just the same as Witcher 3, which sold over 50 million at the last update, where I'm like, wow, that game's still selling 8 years on and still getting tallies up towards its millions. It's cool to see that Cyberpunk still does that. And as someone who's been playing Cyberpunk ever since they did their final patch, it's worth it. Yeah, Cyberpunk is actually a game I think lives up to probably at least 90% of the hype that they originally sold us on.
Yeah.
I think Phantom Liberty, if I had to be real, the original launch was probably half of what they promised. I just really thought it felt like a Bethesda style game, especially with all the bugs.
Yeah.
But after 2 years of patching and the Phantom Liberty expansion, they really did add a lot of the stuff that was promised. And so I think while it's still not fully that same game, I think it's close enough.
Yeah.
that I think that you'll have an amazing experience if you play it. But yeah, go add to those sales numbers if you haven't. Next bite of news. Ubisoft's X-Defiant game is being shut down.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought I saw people playing that. What happened?
It just seems like Ubisoft is not getting enough players to stick with it. So I've been watching videos and trying to like understand what's going on with this game. If you don't know anything about X-Defiant, you're just like me. I had no idea what this game was, but it's a live service multiplayer shooter.
Yeah.
It is Ubisoft's Call of Duty. It was meant to be the COD killer, quote unquote. Especially since one of the big things it had is it doesn't have skill-based matchmaking. That's like one of its big draws. And I think people liked that at first, but not enough people stuck with it. Yeah, it seems, at least from what I've gathered on the internet, the player base didn't stay there, and they didn't stay there not mostly because of skill-based matching, but because there wasn't enough content and not enough changes. So the game kept like delaying its season updates, and I'm like, well, yeah, no, that's gonna get you in trouble with gamers because, to be honest, there's so many games out nowadays that if you're a live service, I feel when a game delays its roadmap or something, to me that just says don't get invested.
Yeah.
As a gamer, not as like someone who wants games to be better. But if I'm gonna devote my time, if a game delays its roadmap, I'm like, oh, that's a eulogy announcement, essentially.
Yeah.
Because, like, Anthem did a roadmap delay, got shut down 6 months later. X-Defiant does a roadmap delay, it's getting shut down 6 months later. Like, it's quite a trend that if you can't release your content updates on time for live service, it just seems to be a killer.
Okay.
So that's all I can see from it, but I don't have any horse in the game because from what I've also understood, though, people who did play X-Defiant liked it. Mm-hmm. Did you ever play it or anything?
No, I just watched a couple different people play it. I'm not a big fan of multiplayer shooter games in the first place. I'm surprised at how much I like Call of Duty Black Ops 6. But yeah, I didn't play it, but it looked like they were doing a good job.
Oh yeah, I also forgot to say the other thing about it is that it was class-based. It wasn't like Call of Duty where you just play.
You had like different factions you played as, right? Throughout the whole Ubisoft franchise, all the Ubisoft franchises.
Yeah, and they all had classes like engineer and assault and stuff. So it sounded like a mix between Call of Duty and Overwatch, honestly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sad to hear. The cool thing is they are refunding people who bought like the big supporter pack edition, the Founders Edition.
That's good.
So cool for them. And they also are not, as of already, if you're listening to this, you can't sign up for the game anymore. So it's getting sunset June 3rd of next year. The servers will go offline on that day. So between now and then, if you've already registered, you can keep playing. If you haven't, sorry, you can't play X-Defiant. But, yeah. On to the final bit of news, though, after that somber one. We're going to hit you with some good ones. Path of Exile 2 hit over 1 million sales on its early access, which is awesome for a game of that size. But it also led to them making a video talking about, hey, we weren't expecting over 1 million people to play our game in early access. So there's going to be server issues.
Yeah, I'm going to start using his facial expression as a suffering from success like meme from now on.
The entire, because I was following the thread because I was trying to play the game on launch day.
Yeah.
Had quite a time with that. Every comment had that posted.
Yeah.
DJ Jonathan suffering from success. It was pretty funny. But I mostly wanted to include that in the news just because this is the first time I feel like a company has gone out of its way to detail us so much about the back end. Mm-hmm. Like I was reading the tweets as they were getting updated, and these guys giving tech garbage lingo to try and like tell us exactly what happened. They're like, yeah, so we bought some data shards, and on the back end, because we didn't update the configuration, it caused a massive glitch that is deleting almost all of your guys' saved stored accounts on. And I'm like, that is so much crap. You could have just told us there's an error with the server, but I appreciate
they're transparent for the ones who want to know.
Exactly. So I wanted to shout them out because I was like, thank you. You didn't have to, because most of us don't even understand what you're talking about. But thank you for trying. And thank you for explaining it. So it was fun. It was a fun little read. Yeah. Also, one of their funniest tweets was, please stop pressing the fucking login button so we can patch our game. Because there was some guy, he was a verified account, some streamer that was just like, every time they update, he's like, okay, we'll go back to clicking login now.
That's funny.
And so I think they had one tweet that was just like, can you stop fucking spamming so we can patch our game? And I loved it.
I'm surprised at how quickly the game has bounced back. Normally when you have this many people trying to get into a game and they're having server issues, you can experience it on and off for about a week or so. So it's, at least when I played it that evening, it seemed pretty stable. How has it been?
There's never been a queue all weekend.
Yeah.
Ever since the initial one. So kudos to them. It actually paid off. Also, the other thing, just to go off what you were saying, normally it backfires. When the launch issues were happening, 211,000 people is what I was showing on Steam. Last night when I was playing at around 10 p.m., 415,000 people were on. Now, there was also 425,000 people on Marvel Rivals.
Dang.
So I don't know how many people keep playing that game. But I will say this. While Marvel Rivals did most of the day have higher concurrent players, it didn't peak as high as Path of Exile. Path of Exile did 519K.
Wow.
So over 500,000 people logged in at one point, and the servers were fine. So
that's good.
Great shout out to GGG Studio. Grinding Gear Games, right?
Yeah, that's a good name.
But yeah, that's going to do it for the news. We're going to get right into impressions.
Yeah, and I'm going to be starting that off with Marvel Rivals. So we have a few different impressions today. Marvel Rivals, Path of Exile 2, Sonic Generations, Shadow, and Supervive, a small little game we've been playing. But I really want to talk about Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
So my first impressions, I did play the beta, was it?
Yeah.
Was it called? Yeah, so the beta that came out a few months ago, got to put a lot of hours into there. There weren't nearly as many characters to play, and so I was worried originally about how I would find somebody that I enjoyed playing. And I guess it was all the characters that were coming on the release, because I've had fun with Hawkeye, I've had fun with Cloak and Dagger, I've had fun with I'm starting to like what's his name, Captain America.
That's my favorite tank.
Yeah, he's starting to be fun. As long as you got a healer that can back you up, he's fun to play.
Yeah, just needs communication.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm finding myself to have a lot more characters that I like than I thought I would. What were your first impressions of the game?
So my first impressions weren't as positive, if I'm being real honest, but I've actually become far more positive of the game as I've played it more. Yeah. It is funny you talk about the characters. I think there's only one character from the beta that I still play. Everyone else I completely abandon and play only wholly new characters, and that's Rocket.
Yeah.
Rocket's the only character I still play from the beta. Other than that, it's Captain America, Bucky, Iron Fist. Like, I had way more fun with like all these new DPSs and tanks. Because I played Hulk, Iron Man, and Rocket in the beta, and I didn't enjoy it as much. I'm far more positive on Marvel Rivals now that the full game's out than I did at the beta.
How do you so let's go through a few things. First and foremost, how do you feel about the visuals? So the first thing you get to see when looking at the game.
Well, it's funny because I put a list here on my notes of the good and the bad, and the first good is visuals. Yeah. I think the visual style of
we
Marvel
eat with
Rivals,
our eyes first. We eat with our eyes first. So.
It is true. It's true. And I'm eating a generous gourmet meal with the visuals, because this game is, one, I like the art style. I am more for like cel shaded painterly. It almost has a Fortiche look.
It definitely looks like Fortiche, yeah, for sure. Especially in the we won't get too much into it, but the beginning and ending cutscenes that you get for matches looks just like Fortiche. So
yeah, I was gonna say that was part of what I loved about the visuals, is not only do the characters and maps look good, but the intros, they're all really snappy. Everything is very quick. 3 to 5 seconds at most lingering, but it's always just really painterly images that like are followed up with just like really like, I don't know what to call them, dynamic like smoke effects.
Yeah 2D smoke effects.
Yeah, because like it'll be an image that seems almost like still, like you're watching a painting like in parts, and then like the smoke will happen, and it's like you just gotta like really a really smooth animation of like smoke effects or a giant beam blowing something up.
Yeah they whoever their animation team really went off on that. I was surprised by seeing the visuals and kind of how what's the word? I want to say not aggressive, but wild the characters look. I was expecting it to be a very real drastic difference between their in-game models and what they drew, but it actually is a pretty good like transition.
Yeah.
So I think that their characters are well represented. When you see different marketing material of the game looks like how they market it. So that was really cool. I was afraid it was going to, when I first played the beta, I was afraid it was going to look kind of like lame in game. Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to mention on the visuals before we go into the other good points and some of the bad, was the character skins.
Yeah.
Because just to complement the visual style, there's quite a few like skins that drastically change how the character looks, and I really appreciated that. Marvel Comics specifically have a wealth of different styles attributed to each character because so many different artists work with these IP. It's really cool to see them all shine differently.
Yeah.
Getting to see an MCU skin, because I love, to be completely honest, I love a lot of the Rivals like original takes on these characters. I think they're fantastic. But being able to see the MCU ones next to them is super cool too, because then it's just like, oh man, if I like Rocket without like the edgy like piercing in his left ear, I can go grab the Guardians of the Galaxy version and he looks, like a cartoon version of the movie.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so just really, really impressed by how they're able to make so many different styles work in this new visuals like filter.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I wanted to touch on, it is a visual thing, technically gameplay visual, but they did really, really nice like MVP animations.
Yes.
So a lot of these characters get these really unique animations that are kind of like akin to what you're saying, based off of their skins, and they get really well represented. Those like moments that we remember in like the movies or the comics get shown off in these animations, and they look so good.
Yeah. No, I agree. Stuff looks so good. Wanted to move to another good point. For me, it was game feel.
Yeah.
It, as weird as it sounds, it feels very much like Overwatch too. That's like the only hero shooter I've played besides this game. So it was kind of cool, and I consider it a benefit how easy it was to transition to Marvel Rivals, and I play it kind of just like Overwatch, albeit the characters' abilities are very different. I don't think it's a carbon copy, but it is like, it's just got a nice game feel. Movement is slow, but not too slow. And if you have a sprinting character, you actually feel that difference. It makes me mad when I have to go to a character that doesn't have like movement as an ability. But I think that's like good design. I think that's really good design. It makes me want to play Captain America over another character because I'm just like, well, I like sprinting. So that's kind of get down to the fundamental things that Overwatch kind of set in place for a lot of these hero shooters that have come out after. That's a really good example of how they took a core shooter mechanic, which is sprinting, and put it on one character. They put it on Soldier 76 to create that feeling of like, hey, this movement is a powerful tool, something you're used to having, taking it away and really getting down to the nitty gritty of what do players do when they play shooter games, and how do we turn those into important abilities that every character has. And Marvel Rivals does that too, with being able to sprint. Being able to fly is a big deal. Being able to teleport is a big deal. Certain guns, like being able to have an assault rifle, is a big deal on what's his name, the Punisher. So I like that they took a lot of those notes from, like, notes, not carbon copies. They took notes,
from Overwatch and making sure that each character is looked at a fundamental level, how you play them and how to make you feel, how to make each one of these could be mundane tasks feel important.
Yeah. I think like probably the best thing I can say about the game feel and about how Marvel Rivals does that is that it takes the best parts of Overwatch. Like it takes the things, what would you call those? It takes the standard set by Overwatch.
Yeah.
It doesn't copy it. Because I will say a lot of people are saying it's an Overwatch clone. And I'm also guilty of saying that.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to not see the similarities. But it is important to note that this is its own game. It isn't just Overwatch with Marvel skins. It does feel like, hey, we know Overwatch 2 is the golden standard of hero shooters right now. We're going to use that model, but we're going to put our own spin on it. And I think that they've done enough of their own, especially with how unique and different the Marvel heroes and villains are.
Yeah.
They make for really unique gameplay moments that you don't get in Overwatch. Again, I don't play Spider-Man, but like watching you swing around with him yesterday when you were in training, showing me like how you can actually control, I was like, yeah, you don't get to do that in Overwatch.
Yeah, you don't. And that's not to like discredit Overwatch. You know, they have different things that they're focusing on, certain things you can do with characters in Overwatch you can't do in here. But to kind of touch on that too, Iron Man. I think that I want to say a few of the original characters that they showed, Iron Man being one of those, they were trying to elicit this feeling that that we get when we watch them in their movies or watch them in their comics or so on and so forth in gameplay feel. Iron Man, he never touches the ground. He only flies. But the way he flies is exactly like what I imagine he would. Controlling him feels exactly like how I imagine it would if I were in the suit. Mm-hmm. They did really good at capturing that. I think they kind of failed on the way that they defaulted swinging for Spider-Man, Venom. I don't think Penny swings, but between Spider-Man and Venom, the default. But when you change it to being able to actually look and swing at everything, it feels pretty good. Not as good as the actual Spider-Man games, but it feels pretty good.
That's high praise for a MOBA.
Yeah. So I think that they had a good idea of how these characters needed to be represented, and I'm assuming that they definitely had help from someone with Marvel, helping them decide like, hey, this is how this character needs to feel when playing as them, so that these heroes that these people have grown up with are properly like represented in gameplay.
Yeah, and also on the thing with Overwatch, I hope no one ever gets the feeling in these comparisons that we're shitting on Overwatch.
No.
I actually think that Overwatch is a better game if you want the shooter aspect.
Yeah.
It feels more like an actual hero shooter.
Yeah.
Where I feel like this almost feels like a hero battle arena.
Yeah.
Because not everybody has guns. In fact, half the characters I play don't.
I like to make this comparison between these two games, Smite and League of Legends. Mm-hmm. Two games that are attacking a similar gameplay genre or game genre, but doing the gameplay very differently. Mm-hmm. There are things that are definitely influenced by one and the other, but if you like you said, if you like shooting, first person shooting, and you want to have like good, clean, crisp shooting, you should play Overwatch. Yeah, it's actually very good. I love Overwatch. But if you do want to play like a third person battle arena type game where you're going to have a huge variance between shooting, melee, whipping, whatever it could be, then I think that Marvel Rivals is a good choice.
Yeah, and on top of the like gameplay point, if you're a fan of Marvel, I think your character will probably be represented very well in this game. So I highly recommend, if you're a fan of these characters, to try it out. It's free.
Yeah.
But enough on game feel. Next great point was matchmaking for me. Yeah, this is absurd how good it is. And I wanted to bring this up specifically because I know why it's so good. Mm-hmm. It's got a good player base, but it doesn't have role queue. Because in Overwatch, you have to pick what role you want to play as before you go into matchmaking.
Yeah.
And in this game, you don't. It's random, which has its pros and cons. Pro, literally you will find a match the second you press find match. No takebacks. You're in.
You press that button and it's not find match, play match. It should just be play match.
Yeah, because that's how freaking quick it is. Insane level of like matchmaking there. The problem is, if you're not playing with your friends, You have no one to communicate with. And guess who all the randoms are always going to pick? They're going to pick the DPS because it's the most fun class, and it's just annoying to always be like, all right, you get a group of 4 friends, it's 6v6. All right, so who gets to be on the randos took DPS? Who's doing healing? Like, that's how it feels every single match, and it's just, I will say that, like, I don't know how to tackle it because I like that they tackled it by just letting it be free, but I'm also irritated that, like, sometimes I have to throw the match if I want to play Bucky.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that options are everything. They should just add a role queue option, and you should be no role queue, and then ranked. Definitely, I feel like ranked has to be role queue in my opinion. We'll see today when we play it some more. But yeah, I do think that it's great that you can just get into a match right away. I do hate that the randoms will always queue into DPS. I think it's a problem with the game having 18 DPS characters and all of them being fun as hell. So, I haven't found a character who wasn't fun, which is interesting. So,
yeah, no, that's a good point. I haven't played anyone that I think is unfun. At this point, because like I really liked Iron Fist. He's difficult, but
there's characters that
feels so good to punch.
Yeah, there's characters I don't understand and don't want to wrap my head around. But when I watch other people play them, I'm like, that looks like exciting to do. So yeah, they did pretty good with that. But yeah, the whole role queue issue, we'll see how they resolve that in the next couple months.
Yeah. The other thing on top of that was server stability.
Yeah.
This game had 500,000 people playing it all at once, and that was just on Steam. That's not counting Xbox and PlayStation, which I have seen several of them. Like, we've been playing with Xbox randoms, and I'm like, what? People on Xbox? I didn't even know people still play it on there. And so just wanted to say that, like, it didn't go down at all. There was no queue. There was nothing. The game launched at like 5 p.m.
Yeah,
and at 5:03 I was already playing.
Yeah, like 5 p.m. when everybody got off work and you just press the button and you got in the game.
Yeah, it's genuinely shocking because another game that we're going to talk about didn't have as nice of a launch, but it was crazy to see a game of this size not have any issues, like, whatsoever. I'm like, actually, I'm at a loss of words at how good it did.
Yeah.
Because no game's done that. Like, except, actually, probably only Call of Duty. This game had, like, the same level of Call of Duty.
That is true. Call of Duty, it was pretty easy to get into.
Yeah. So, nothing but props to Marvel Rivals team for that. One last good thing before we get into our criticisms on the game. I wanted to shout out the price model. I think for a free-to-play game, especially if you compare it to the other standard for hero shooters, which is Overwatch 2, this is like going to heaven compared to the hell that Blizzard has put as the storefront. For like $15, you can pretty much get anything in the store, whereas like Overwatch costs like $40 to buy anything. Huge disparity.
Huge. I spent $20. I got a character. Actually, I spent $20. I got a character skin. I got an amazing MVP animation that I can't stop watching.
Yeah, I love it when you win.
Yeah. And then I got spray, and I got a like a character, a banner, and I still had enough left over to pay for the battle pass.
Dang.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's
crazy. So, $20 got me a lot. I know that a lot of the stuff in the store is on sale, but we'll see if they continue to have things on sale when they first come out, or maybe this is just a one-time thing because the game is just releasing. But I mean,
they also let you earn currency. In the game. I haven't paid $1, and I've already unlocked $1's worth. Even though I've only been playing the game for 6 hours, I think 6 to 9 hours. I'd have to check Steam again, but it hasn't been that long. I know I'm not even at the double digits yet. And I've already made $1. Can't say the same. I think I have 60 hours in Overwatch 2, and I think I've grinded 120 gold coins, which isn't enough to buy anything.
No.
And that's been over a year and a half of playing it. So
yeah, Overwatch 2's model is unfortunately shitty because their loot boxes were better in Overwatch 1. I was able to get so much stuff from just grinding loot boxes.
Yeah.
So
blows. But yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to shout out good about Marvel Rivals before we move to the...
No, I think I've talked about all the things that I like so far. I want to see where the game goes for me in the next couple months. See if it falls off. Maybe it's just a honeymoon phase and why I like it so much. See if they balance characters. There's a lot that I'm excited to see. But so far, they started off pretty great.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't have too many bad. I only have 3 points that I thought were bad. The first bad for me was readability. I think with 6v6, there is just, and because characters are superheroes this time instead of all just like variations of different shooting classes, it is very hard to tell why you lost sometimes. Yeah. Although I will give credit where credit's due. They have a good kill cam.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. I didn't shout that out. As you brought up the topic, yeah, the kill cam actually helps. What is it? Call of Duty has a kill cam, but Overwatch doesn't have a kill cam, does it?
No, it does.
It does. It definitely does.
But I will say with this one, I still put readability as bad because even though the kill cam is good, sometimes even watching the kill cam, I don't know what's going on. But that's also just because, again, it's 6v6 instead of 5v5. There's 12 people throwing shit out into something. So sometimes, you'll ult, at least for me, and I'll be like, oh, I'm doing my ultimate. I'm going to be able to kill people. And I'm just hammering them, and they're getting healed. And I'm like, where's the healer that's healing them? And I can't see. And I die, and I look, and I'm like, I still don't see the healer. How did you heal me? I mean, how'd you heal out? How did he out heal my damage from an ultimate? And so, again, that's all on me for not understanding. But I will say, just if you're a new player, that's a huge hurdle for me. With not getting too tilted at this game was like, sometimes I really just didn't know how I died, other than somehow somehow Palpatine returned. Somehow I died. That's so for me that's one of the major negatives, but I don't know how they fix that other than lowering like
effects. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it comes with time because I haven't had that big of an issue with readability myself yet. I know that I normally just skip most kill cams and get right back into the fight because I kind of understood what happened. But we'll see. As they add more characters and as I get more competitive, I could start getting to a point where I'm looking for certain things and wondering what happened and not be able to tell. So
yeah, it just makes me worried because I know you've played Overwatch 1. Mm-hmm. I didn't play Overwatch 1 other than the original 10 hours that I tried it when it came out, and I hated it for that same reason. This I felt easier to bear. Maybe it's because I actually have friends playing it with me this time. But I honestly am wondering where it's going to go because I actually think that the better people get, the more it's going to be a clusterfuck of effects.
Yeah, because once people start
even less readable,
when people start comboing abilities, it's going to happen. And I think that's we're going to have to start looking at the information outside of the characters and be like, oh, my health bar was purple. Maybe I got like debuffed or something, or he got buffed. I'll be able to tell by looking at the information on the HUD. So I'm hoping that that's like clear.
Yeah, because it is just hard. Because like again, if you screenshotted and took a frame from any of those moments where I said the readability was bad, I'm pretty sure even you would be like, yeah, I don't know what's going on because it's just lights, effects, and death. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that I don't know how they answer it. Sometimes that just kind of comes with the territory of having like conflicts with 6 superpowered people.
Yeah. If you look at League of Legends, they never really changed anything there. So I think it's a thing that's part of the beast.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's a negative for me, but it's something that I'm hoping will diminish as my understanding gets better.
No, I understand that. Luckily, we have a third-person game, so it's a little bit easier to tell what's going on most of the time, rather than being in first person and just getting blown up, like without knowing what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I think the other main thing that that threw me off, and this one can be fixed, but I ran into quite a few glitches in the environment collision. There was multiple times where me as Captain America or even as Iron Fist, I got stuck in a corner. Like legit just stuck sprinting in place, corner locked.
Yeah.
So something's up with like some of the edges. I don't know if it's because of like they have destructible environments in this game, which is really cool, but not cool when you're stuck on a ledge and you're like, dude, I'm Captain America. Why is he stuck on a staircase?
Yeah.
So that's just something that happened 3 times in the like 9 hours I've played. I think 2 of them were from the same match. So it doesn't happen often. So, but I just did want to shout it out because it did happen to me a couple times.
Yeah.
The only other thing for me that was a little bit that I'm worried about, but I wouldn't say as bad as balance.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to see how they react because I don't feel like they changed anything from the beta, and that does worry me. Like Scarlet Witch still is an annoying witch, and Jeff the Shark is still extremely annoying, and I think his ability is needs some nerfing.
His ultimate, yeah.
Yeah, it either needs the AoE or it needs less time where you're stuck in him. Because I found that to be a little too OP for an objective-based game.
Yeah.
If it was just deathmatch, then it wouldn't be that bad. But the fact that he can just zoink the whole team because of how big the AoE is and then hide it during the overtime bar is such shit.
Yeah.
It sucked so much when matches ended that way.
I agree. I think that balance needs to be checked. There's a few characters, Iron Fist being one of them, who's been just tearing up to everyone. That they just need those adjustments. Jeff the Shark, I think his ultimate needs to be smaller. I also noticed that even if I do a double jump like with Moon Knight or with Hawkeye, he still catches me.
Yeah.
And so there's an area of effect like dome above the ultimate that also needs to be shortened, because you should be able to jump out of that ult or like get away from it because it's
time to jump.
Very powerful. And I think this is similar to like adjustments they made with Diva's ult in Overwatch, which was better for her because when she used to ult, she would also hurt herself. So she would kill herself if she threw her ult in original Overwatch.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so they made changes to make it a little bit better for her. I think that similar things can be done to make these characters a little less outrageous for the enemy team. So, yeah, I agree that balance needs to be checked. I also, what was it? I forgot. It was the character. What was her name? Not Magneto. Penny. Penny needs some adjustments. I think that her bombs that she puts on the floor, there's just a little bit too much going on when she does it.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know what's going on when that happens.
Yeah, so there's certain characters that I think need to be changed.
Yeah. But other than that like legitimately those 3 points were the only criticisms I actually had towards Marvel Rivals. I genuinely think it's a very impressive product. Way more than I was going to give it credit for. But yeah, did you have any last minute criticisms before we move on to the next game?
No, I think that you kind of nailed the same ones I had. I think balance and readability is something that I struggle. Well, I can see being a struggle in the game, and I hope that they figure that out or have an idea of how people are going to approach the game later on, because I'd like for the game to succeed. So
yeah, same here. I think it succeeded with those numbers. But next up is Path of Exile 2. So I've put about 9 hours, I think is what Steam told me this morning, because I played it a little bit this morning too, because I've been liking it that much. I think it said, because you're on my friends list, I think you've played about 6 hours is what it showed. 5 to 6. How are you feeling about it?
I like it a lot. I honestly would be playing it so much if it weren't for Marvel Rivals. Being a competitive gamer, I normally get pulled to competitive PvP experiences, just that want to beat somebody. So, but there's PvP in Path of Exile, so maybe I can make that happen. But I've been enjoying it. I think it's so cool. I think controlling and piloting the characters feels really good. I think that combat with enemies, like the moment-to-moment interactions, are not droning. or putting me to sleep. We'll see how it goes as I get more abilities, because you know how it always is with these types of ARPGs. You start to get a bunch of abilities and you create this like well-oiled machine where you press a button and everything happens. But it does seem that each of these abilities that my character has been getting require a good, how do I say it? Like a good sense of like active use of my brain. You know, they're not very passive.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And it's funny. Actually, you kind of wrapped up the 3 points in all. Those are the 3 things that I think are good. It's the visuals, the gameplay, and the encounter design.
Yeah.
So before we get into those 3 points, what class are you playing?
I'm currently playing a ranger, and I am enjoying her.
Awesome. I was gonna say I've played 2 characters now. I have a level 13 mercenary.
Nice.
And then I have a level 8 sorceress. And I've been enjoying both classes. I do like the mercenary the most.
Yeah.
But that's also because I think the mercenary gets a sword, I think, later. But it will be coming in a patch. Because in the skills, crossbow and sword are the same color. And when you go to the sword one, it says coming soon.
Oh.
So I'm hoping. Don't take my word on that, but I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah.
Hoping that's coming soon. Because that's probably the only thing I'm missing is a sword. They have clubs, staves, hammers, and I'm like, I don't want any of this shit.
Yeah.
I want to slash things.
They have so many blunt objects. I was like, where is the sword at?
Right? And I'm like, okay, well, hopefully. And I think bow gets dagger, because I saw dagger skills is another one that says coming soon.
Oh.
Yeah, so might be getting some cool stuff. But we want to talk about what's actually there right now. And I want to say that what's there right now is actually incredible.
Yeah.
As mercenary, the abilities, like going back to the point of what you're saying about control feels really good. You know, Diablo 4 was the only ARPG I've played before this. Well, Diablo 3, if we're being exact. I've played Diablo 3 and Diablo 4. Mm-hmm. Diablo 4 I actually completed a campaign, whereas Diablo 3 I only got like a quarter of the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And I find the control in this game so like vastly superior. It's like not even, they're not even in the same ballpark to me, because this one feels more like an action game.
Yeah.
Whereas even though Diablo is like an action RPG, it felt MMO-y, like combat wise. Like there just wasn't that impact. Like, yeah, you could halt people with like ice, but I'm like, I can do the same thing when I get paralyzed off in an MMO or, you know, I get stunned. It just didn't hit the same. I would get tired because I would kind of just face tank stuff and then like, you know, cast abilities that just screen wipe.
Yeah.
And in this game, I tend to like, I die from getting trapped from like bad placement, because every enemy encounter, like if they lock me in, it's game over for me.
Yeah.
So it's just weird. I haven't fallen asleep playing Path of Exile.
Yeah.
Which I did a lot in Diablo. Which isn't, that's not, I don't want to, I hope that doesn't come off. It's going to come off as shade against Diablo, because falling asleep during something means it's that boring.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty narcoleptic. I fall asleep running into walls in Elden Ring if there's not a combat encounter. So it's not the game's fault. But if combat's too passive and doesn't require like a lot of like instant reaction,
Yeah.
Or timing, then it can put me to sleep, especially late at night. Mm-hmm. Path of Exile requires you to be exact with your intent. It requires you to be intentional.
Yeah,
with each
it requires a lot of intention. One of those things, kind of to go off what you're saying, dodge roll. Mm-hmm. This game having you can use dodge roll whenever, and it having invincibility frames is really cool, because it's requiring you to dodge. They overwhelm you, so it's requiring you to use that dodge effectively to get out of like situations where you might take a huge amount of damage or get hit by a huge move by dodging through it at the right time. I think that they knew what they were competing with in this game genre, and tried to go for a way more grounded, heavy, gritty feeling when it comes to ARPGs, and I feel they succeeded.
Yeah. No, they really succeeded. Talking about that, the spacebar, like doing the dodge roll. The dodge roll having iframes and being like an unlimited and not a charge like it is in Diablo.
Yeah.
it fundamentally changes how you approach combat, because in Diablo you'd use it as a reposition tool.
Yeah.
Which has its uses, but it kind of just feels like something you only use sometimes because of, again, it's on cooldown all the time. In this game, I actually feel and I hate to be the Dark Souls of ARPGs guy, but it does feel like Dark Souls and Elden Ring. Because one of the key things about those games, I know, dodge roll, it's Souls, but it's more important than that. It is the fact that I actually have to study what my opponent's doing, paying attention to when they're swinging their attacks, because the iframes come out when they, at the beginning of a roll. You need to make sure you time it to when the attack would hit you, so that you can phase through it, essentially, or roll through it. And I find that to be like really engaging. I talked with one of our friends, John, who was playing the game, and he said the same thing about boss encounters being really incredible in this game, because it was like, yeah, it's really cool when they do a big swing and you stop your attack because you're like, okay, I got to time this dodge. Whoop, dodge through it, and then you continue your assault. And then they do another attack, because bosses don't just have one move.
Yeah.
They have multiple moves. And like I don't want to spoil anything because I know you haven't gotten to a part, but I fought a boss that had like chain attacks. And so it was like dodge right to do this one, but then you got to dodge immediately forward because they're going to do a horizontal attack right as soon as that vertical one goes out. And it was cool to be like, boom, 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 boom,
yeah,
like rolling all over the place to get my opening shots. So yeah, I really love the feel. The other thing I wanted to say about the combat, as someone who's been doing an elemental build up play style, it's been really engaging to see that they have a progress bar
on their
for status elements, because for Pin and for Frost, both of those require a build up before you get the effect. And man, it feels so good to be seeing some big dude in the back hitting the pin charge. As soon as you see the pin, he's locked down, and then you're like, okay, now I can run out, change to this ammo, and get ready to like beat him and the mob back.
Yeah.
Or for me with bosses, freeze them. When I finally get to the freeze, I'm like, oh yeah, it's damage time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been really loving it, if you can't tell. So but did want to get into some of my criticisms of the game.
Yeah.
For me, the launch was a criticism, only because of how long it was down.
Yeah.
I almost just wish that they like delayed it, or maybe just did it in waves, and let people know what waves they would be coming into.
Yeah.
Because I felt like the collective, everyone trying to just log in for 5 hours was horrible, only because of what it put me through as a Steam user. Because not getting into a game's fine. The servers, it just wouldn't connect. It was like, okay, whatever. And then I was following the updates. They're like, okay, well, we fixed this issue. I go to log in, and then all of a sudden, it's trying to take me to the website to validate my key.
Yeah.
The website's completely down. Like, it just doesn't open. And I'm just like, okay, so now what?
Yeah.
Hey, it's another issue. They're very open and transparent. I'm not mad anymore. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to play Sonic or something until Path of Exile 2 is back up. They say, all right, it'll be imminent. So get in there and try to log in. I try to log in, and it tells me my early access key no longer exists and that I didn't buy the game.
Oh, wow.
That was pissing me the hell off. And I was like, come on, man. It's one thing to not have your server work, but to all these issues, it just sucked. I was like, I feel like this could have been handled better. And so it's not a huge negative because, again, it lasted 5 hours. As soon as that's happened, I haven't had a single issue, and I haven't even seen a queue since then. But it was, I almost refunded the game because I was like, you're really telling me I didn't pay for it? You're not getting my $30. But I held out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a horrible glitch. If you weren't on Twitter or on social media following them and you went off just the game took you to a website that didn't work and then told you that your thing, that the key that you paid for doesn't.
The next step would be calling support. If you didn't have
Exactly.
Twitter, you'd have to call support.
Yeah, and I imagine that those support lines probably weren't answering. Yeah.
Especially for a product you paid for. Luckily, I was at work during the launch, so I didn't have to experience most of it. But I did watch. I noticed that people were losing their characters. I noticed that people were also getting logged in playing the game, getting to a loading screen, then getting kicked out and sent back to the queue of 20,000. Yeah, there's a lot of different server issues that were going on. Suffering from success for sure. So many people want to play their game. But when you have launches like Marvel Rivals, which was completely perfect, the criticism stands.
Yeah. And so, again, just wanting to put it out there, because I think that they've already overcome it. But, it was an issue that was a little lame. It was a lame first introduction. Now, the actual stuff that's in the game that I hope that they'll change, fast travel.
Yeah.
Right now, you can fast travel to each area, so it's not like you're going to be walking the entire map all the time. But the problem is that these maps are pretty huge, and they have checkpoints. The problem is you can't warp to these checkpoints, and these maps are so huge, and your walk speed isn't really there's no way to run or make that faster, so you're walking a lot, and there's no mounts, so you're just walking. Damn. And that can get a little boring if you're trying to clear out an area. And so one of the examples I use is I got to this forest area. I found the exit pretty quickly to where I needed to go. But the map is 80% fog of war. So I'm nah, there's probably some good loot, some good shit I missed, maybe a mini boss or two. And I comb the entire map. I get my loot. I beat my mini bosses. I got to go back to that spot. It's nowhere near me. So now I'm walking. It's a beautiful forest.
Yeah.
But it is a boring jog.
Just hoping that one of the guys come back
I know. I'm can someone come back? I'd like to fight somebody. Kind of thing. So that's something. I hope they go about it two ways. Either make the areas shorter, maybe about a third less space.
Yeah.
And then it probably won't be as irritating to walk across all of it. That, or just let me warp checkpoints.
Yeah, I think warping checkpoints would be nice.
Other than that, the only other I wouldn't even say it's bad, but a little criticism is that the story's not that interesting. I don't know if you've gotten wrapped into it, but I just haven't really.
I haven't really got a chance to get wrapped into it. But that's funny you say that, because that's one of the things that they stated that they were going to work on for this game, because Path of Exile 1, most people did not care about the story. It was just a small blip in their overall experience in the game. And so they wanted to make the story more engaging for this game. So it doesn't sound like they succeeded very much.
At least not for me. I found Diablo 4's story to be a little more engaging, but they had characters that I followed. Whereas Una is the one that I followed the most in this, and she's mostly just back at base. Do
you get cutscenes like you do in Diablo of your character?
No, I haven't gotten any of those. Yeah. I might. I just haven't gotten them yet. So
okay. No, I think that those are valid. Maybe those will come with the full release of the game. This is, again, just early access.
Yeah.
So all of these are subject to change.
Yeah. Did you have any thoughts or comments on
additional criticisms?
Yeah.
Not any additional criticisms, only because I haven't played enough of it.
Yeah.
From what I've played, I've liked. I would say the button remapping. I don't think you can remap buttons on your controller on PC. You can obviously put skills to certain buttons, so technically you're button mapping, but there are other extra buttons that I want to do different things. Like, for example, when I'm playing with my controller, I would love for my touchpad to open up my area map, but it doesn't, and that's a little frustrating. Or even the big map, but I can't change that, and not being able to change that's a little frustrating. Makes me want to play with mouse and keyboard, because I can change every single key to be better. But this is a game where I don't want to be sitting for long sessions, because when I start grinding this game, I'm going to be sitting there for 8 hours playing it. Sitting there in that 8 hours in that mouse and keyboard position really strains my shoulders, and I'd like to be able to sit back and relax and play the game.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that's an issue I've seen with a bunch of PC games, even Baldur's Gate's like that. Where it's keyboard. Hey man, you want W to, fart? Go for it. But God forbid you want to change confirm to anything else other than X on a PlayStation controller. Buddy, you're going to play something different. But yeah, No, really loving Path of Exile too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got 2 more games on the impressions lineup, and both of these ones are kind of shorter. So, first one is Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. This is a remaster with new content of a game from 2014, Sonic Generations.
Mm-hmm.
So it includes the whole game of Sonic Generations, almost untouched. Actually, PC settings, untouched. It still only goes to 60 frames per second, which is weird. You go and play the Shadow one, it's 120, and I'm like,
oh, wow.
What the hell? Kind of odd that they didn't do that, but whatever. But you get an entire new campaign with Shadow, along with the original Sonic Generations campaign. And they're both equal length. I did beat Shadows a little bit faster. It took me 5 hours to beat Sonic Generations, and it took me 3.5 to beat Shadows.
Okay.
But I would say content-wise, they're both pretty. I would agree with people. I think I just got the hang of it better by the time I played Shadow, so I was able to get through it quicker.
Okay.
Did want to say that I will say the entire Shadow portions is like a masterpiece of platforming. I actually think that the game's price tag is worth it just for the Shadow portion.
Really?
Yeah, because I really felt like the gameplay, level design, and like just game feel, all of it's just substantially better than the original Generations package. But now, mind you, it's 10 years later.
Yeah.
So they incorporate a lot of stuff with Shadow that just wasn't there in the original, and they didn't go back and touch up the original. Because like with Shadow, you get a double jump, you get more control when moving, like at boost speeds instead of like being like locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing too is like they gave Shadow a lot of abilities that they didn't give Sonic at all.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to like kick people and like drop, like super kick them up into the air, disappear, point where to kick them, and then teleport to where you kick them is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Sonic doesn't get to do that.
No, he gets to slide, he gets
Yeah.
to jump, and he gets the homing attack.
Exactly. And Shadow gets all that, but with like extra flair. Like when you do a homing attack, he disappears instant transmission style and then shows up and kicks him. I'm like, yeah, they just did everything Sonic did, but a little cooler.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably the only thing that like isn't good in the Shadow campaign is the like voice acting. That's just because Shadow sounds like an edgy nerd.
Yeah.
Like he sounds like an edgy nerd.
Yeah.
Which yeah, because he didn't sound cool like I was expecting. This is the end, Sonic. But it was more like, this is the end, Sonic.
Oh,
and I was like,
no.
there's a little bit of nasalness
Yeah.
to his voice, and I was shocked by that because I was like, I remember him being like sounding like a 24-year-old, whereas like now he kind of sounds like a 16-year-old. And I'm like, that's probably better for lore, but he sounds lamer.
No, I like it better. I want my Shadow to have the voice of a grizzly 30-year-old man.
Yeah, I wanted to sound like he smoked a few cigarettes.
Yeah. He's been going through it. He should smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, he does go through it, but yeah, also like when I say they also didn't just touch up his gameplay, they touched up like the hub and everything. The hub in the original Sonic Generations is kind of whack, honestly. It's just 2D. It does have cool exploration spots, but when you see the 3D one of Shadows, it's like wow, this is just better. This is just better. Like so. Yeah, I really liked it. I don't want to go too much into it. It's a 3.5 hour game. Just play it. If you like platformers, or if you've ever had love of a Sonic game, you're gonna have a good time with the Shadow portion.
After playing it, would you like this to be how Sonic is going forward?
Yes.
Would you like this to resemble
I think if Sonic goes in this direction and just improves and like iterates on this, I think that he will make his own dent on platforming again.
Really?
Because I think it's that much different than Mario. Sonic didn't have to copy Mario, and originally he didn't. He was the faster version. He was more about speed and lanes, and I think that lane and like speed design is super well executed here in Shadow.
Wow.
Yeah. As I was playing Shadow Generations, I was like, I will buy every Sonic game going forward if it plays like this.
Really?
Without question. It's that good.
I can't wait to buy it.
Yeah. You as a Sonic fan need to play Shadows Generation.
I will. I want to cut out. I'm probably gonna do it in January, so I can kind of do it for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm just gonna have a Sonic day where I play that game. So,
I can't wait to see your thoughts on it because I'm a lapsed Sonic 3D fan. Always been a 2D Sonic fan. And I haven't had this much fun with a 3D Sonic game since Sonic Adventure 1.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a blast. I loved it. Now, I did want to state the bad other than the story. I do think if you haven't played Sonic Generations, play it, but do understand I don't think it holds up as well. I do think it's a good Sonic game, though. I actually am sad I didn't play it back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But there was quite a few glitches and also just a few design things that I was just like, ooh, a little obtuse, a little old, and a little janky at points. There was quite a few glitches I ran into the OG Sonic Generations where you, even while you were watching me stream it, saw me go through levels.
Yeah.
I just fell in the environment, and I'm just in the environment.
Yeah.
There was also times where like 2D Sonic was aimed at the camera while I was like going on the panel, and I was just like, yeah, that's odd. And then he would die, and I would just reset the checkpoint. I'm like, whatever. It never made me extremely mad. I will say that. That's why I won't berate it too much. But I will say that if you haven't played it, I recommend playing it first before playing Shadow, because Shadow is a huge, again, 10 years later, they learned a lot of lessons. It's just a straight up upgrade in every way. But I do think that Sonic Generations is still worth playing if you've never played it before.
Yeah.
Because I am very happy I played it. So yeah, would recommend it if you haven't. If you did already play it, maybe hold it in your memories and just play the Shadow part.
Yeah, I've played. I got every red coin in Generations when I first played it.
Man.
So yeah, I'll probably just play the Shadow portion.
Yeah.
Are there red coins still in the Shadow?
No, Shadow has a different thing.
But
he has you unlock artwork and music through his levels. He doesn't have red rings.
Okay.
Yeah, but he has 3 instead of 5 because there's 5 red rings.
Yep.
There's 3 collectibles in the level.
Have you collected all of them on all stages?
No, but I've got. But I want to.
You want to?
Because they're good.
Yeah.
They because there's a couple times. That's how good the level design is. Is that like as I'm doing it, I'll miss it by just a little bit, and I'm like, I know how to get that. I just got to be better.
Yeah.
And that's the best feeling in a platformer when it's like, oh, I missed it because I didn't take the high lane. That's a Sonic thing. And again, like I said, they capitalize on every core part of Sonic's like initial design, and they made it in 3D super well. And
nice.
So yeah, collectibles, everything's really good. Now getting to our last game for impressions, Supervive.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you've played this one more than me, so I'd like you to lead the.
Yeah, no worries. So Supervive is a game that is akin to a few old games that I played back in the day. So I don't remember the exact developer. They made V Rising, but they made this game back in the day called Battle Right. Battle Right was what's it called? A battle royale, like this game is. Like Supervive's a top-down battle royale. But it was a MOBA where you just jump in and you fight each other. No real creeps or anything. You just go into a stage and a team of 3 versus a team of 3. Very good, tight controls. Similar to Supervive, you had control over where you pointed the camera instead of clicking. There was no clicking to go to positions. It was WASD, and it just was a very fun, short-lived game. Supervive seems to rekindle that sort of energy. That top-down WASD, really well-controlled, ability-focused PvP combat. And it's just something that I stumbled upon, saw it was coming out, tried it out, and was very impressed. How did you like your first impressions of the game?
So I actually really liked it.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to dislike it pretty heavily.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not pretty heavily, but dislike it slightly. Enough to not want to continue playing it. But I actually ended up liking it more than I thought. I think that as someone who doesn't really like MOBAs,
mm-hmm.
I really think that Supervive did a great job of incorporating MOBA things without overwhelming me. Like that's one of the strong suits I have with the game is that like you upgrade a bunch of stuff, right? Just like you do in League of Legends and Deadlock. But when I went to upgrade it, it didn't bring up a whole menu that has multiple pages of crap for me to read. Yeah. And I can't stand that in MOBAs. And so for them to kind of just relegate it to the 3 item slots you have in the bottom right, and then you upgrade them and you make your decisions right then and there. So quick, so snappy, so easy. I loved that.
Yeah. I did like that. You can obviously pick up items and stuff like every battle royale. So in this game, your characters each come with a movement ability, a few of their character abilities, and then you can pick up items that give you 2 more either passives or active abilities that you want to use, from giving you movement speed to giving you omnivamp, so healing when you deal damage, to straight up being a nuke or a boost when you do your when you do a glider. There's also a glider in the game. There's a lot of really cool things that they took from other games and incorporated them well in this sort of ARPG camera angle. And yeah, they did a good job. I mean, it has great reviews on Steam. Also, Theorycraft Games is the developer. I went and looked them up. And I don't know anything else that they've made. So it's cool that they've come out with this game. It's not the greatest timing. I think this is still early access, I believe, for this game.
I think it's open beta now.
It's open beta? Open beta. So it's still open beta, so we'll see what happens when they do their full release and they start really marketing the game, because I would like for it to succeed. Totally caught me off guard. Really fun game. I think the only real negatives I have is I think that with it being an open beta state, there's still a lot of visual fidelity that needs to be like touched up. The menus don't look that great. The entire HUD is very meh. Not very inspired. Especially after coming off of playing Marvel Rivals, I'm appreciative of how much work they put into making sure that everything you see is a visual treat. And I think that's probably something that'll help Supervive stand out and stick in people's memories, because everything seems somewhat placeholder at the moment. So,
yeah, I don't know if I have played enough to feel that, because I haven't felt the placeholder feel. But to be completely honest, my negative on the game is that, and it's probably because of its open beta state, I don't understand the pull of the game. Like, I like the game and I like the gameplay, but there's not anything there to make me press play again. In the sense that, like, Marvel Rivals has, like, one, it's instantaneous, but they also have, like, a battle pass that's, like, very player friendly. I didn't get that feeling in Supervive. Like, I didn't even visit the shop because I just didn't care.
Yeah.
To, like, look at that. And it's not like, that's why this negative's kind of like really vague, is like, I don't know what they could do other than like just make it a little more interesting, but I just don't have a reason to press play at the current time other than like, oh, it's a fun game to play. But once I've played like 2 to 3 matches, I'm like, hey, let's boot up something else.
Yeah.
That's just how I've felt about it so far.
And I think I understand that. And what's funny is they have a battle pass. They have character leveling like not passes, but like progression. So think in Granblue Versus, you know how you play a character over and over again, you'll unlock stuff for them.
They have their own battle pass, essentially.
Yeah, they have that plus a battle pass. That's how we got pulls for new characters, is there was an actual battle pass that we were working on. But none of that information is really well presented to you. That's what I think is the issue with like their hub and their menu, is you have to go digging through very I'll steal a word from you, obtuse menus to find this information, and none of it is like out in your face and selling it to you. They need to sell this game to me when I'm playing this game, because there's a great game there. And you're right, if you put a very bland and like uninteresting like experience before I even get into the game, because it takes a little while. You get into the game, you pick a character, you queue up, then you wait for the loading screen to drop, then you drop, and then you're finally playing the game and you're having a good time, which I do like the animation for dropping. I think that they did good. If they can make everything around that more exciting, then it'll make you want to press play.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that a lot of that should get touched up when the game fully releases. Not only does the game need to be marketed to people, but it needs to be marketed to me when I'm playing it, because it's not as instantaneous as games like Marvel Rivals. You jump in, that game has got fucking impact frames and shit in the very beginning.
Yep.
Fucking blaring music. Everything is very like stylized. You press play, your fucking lightning strikes, and you're in a game. And you're like, okay, I'm already having fun. I haven't even started yet. So
it's gonna make it hard for me to play Overwatch 2, I think. That's how good Marvel Rivals is at being snappy.
Yeah, to be honest, I won't be playing Overwatch for a couple of years. As long as Marvel Rivals sticks around and is good, I won't be playing. I don't see myself playing Overwatch for a few years. I really want to dig into Marvel Rivals and see how far I can take it and how good I can get. And once I get to that like really higher ranked, higher player base or higher skilled player base, then I'll be able to make a judgment on whether or not I like the game. Because I've done that in Overwatch, and I actually do like Overwatch at really high level. Don't like Overwatch at low level. I'm interested to see how I feel about Marvel Rivals.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Supervive, I think you should check it out. It's on Steam. Doesn't cost you anything to play it. It's a good game if you don't want to play Marvel Rivals. You're not a big Marvel fan. You just hate Marvel. I hate them all. Hate Iron Man and his stupid face and his stupid suit. Then go. I would recommend Supervive. It's a fun game.
Same here.
Did you have any other comments on Supervive?
No, to be honest, I don't have enough time into Supervive. Yeah. That's why I'm like, it just isn't pulling me.
Yeah.
And I think that with the HUD changes, like you're saying, if they can just get me into the game faster and also let me know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because you are right. I unlocked stuff. I didn't know why I unlocked it.
Yeah.
I thought I just did.
Nope. We have a whole character progress bar that gives us emotes that are voiced. So like your little voiced emotes that you get for your characters.
Yeah, I've gotten one of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
We get those from playing the game, but it doesn't tell you or market it to you that, hey, you should be working towards this. So if they do that, I mean, they have a great game there, and I think it deserves to be shouted out. It's got great reviews on Steam, 11,000 reviews. Such a cool game. So we're going to go ahead and take our break. When we come back, we're going to be going over the Game Awards show. We got a couple little bets we want to make, and then a game that I really think is near and dear to my heart that kind of changed how I feel about open world games that I'd like to talk about. See you soon.
Welcome back. Hope your break was nice. And we moved things up a little bit. Our last boss topic, which is normally at the end of the episode, is a little bit earlier. Mostly because it's a game. So we went over the Game Awards nominees last episode. And we talked about which one we think should win. But now it's time to make some bets for the awards show as a whole. So how this is going to work is we have 6 questions here that we're both going to make a bet on. And depending on how unlikely that bet is how much points it could be potentially worth. So you want to make crazier bets.
Yeah.
You make a safer one, you're getting less points. Now, we haven't decided fully on what the winner and the loser are going to get. Actually, we're going to let you guys, the audience, kind of have a say in that.
Yeah.
So please send us some suggestions on what you think the loser should have to deal with and what the winner should win. And we will definitely take that into consideration with our final judgment. But yeah, so I wanted to get into these questions just because, again, the Game Awards show is awesome. It's great to celebrate these games. But we also know what this really is. It's E3 too.
Yeah.
This is an award show where we're going to see a ton of game announcements. We're going to see tons of celebrities. And we're going to get tons of weird shit just at this show. So it's fun to think about and speculate what could be there. So let's start with the first question. What dream announcement, would you like or do you think will be at the Game Awards 2024?
Okay, so I can put in as many points as I want on this, right? Okay. I'm betting and I'm praying. I'm looking to the gods. Actually, I'm looking to heaven in some way for Kid Icarus.
Kid Icarus?
I want that so bad, and I know that he's working on something. This would be the perfect time to announce it. I am I want to put what's a crazy amount of points?
10's the maximum.
10's the maximum.
Mm-hmm.
10 points.
You're gonna put 10 whole ass points.
10 whole
on. Okay.
Yes.
If Kid Icarus shows up with a. Okay. How about this? Half points if it's a HD, just port. Or no.
Okay,
It'd be 10
okay.
points if it's Kid Icarus. He's been out of the game for so long.
If Kid Icarus
No.
shows up in any way, not any way, if any type of Kid Icarus project is announced in any way, I would like to put 10 points on that, please.
Okay. Yeah. 10 points for Kid Icarus, remaster or new game. But if he's just in a side compilation for
count.
Smash Bros., we're not counting that.
It doesn't count.
All right. My announcement, and I'm going to put 7 points on this. We know Tekken 8 is announcing a new character. We don't know what character that will be. My guess, my hope, is that it's Tifa from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, my God.
And for Final Fantasy VII, I'll give it 7 points on that bet.
That's good. That's very good. Oh, man. Tifa would be... Can I I want to piggyback on that if I could.
You already got Pit, bro.
I know. But I think that she would be such a cool addition to Tekken. Oh my God, she'd be a great addition.
Yeah, I would love her.
Yeah.
So hopefully that happens. Next question. This is the only one that's awards based, like for a guess. But who do you think will win Game of the Year? And this one, it'll be 5 points for whoever wins. There's no,
Okay.
because they're all part of the nominees, there's not scaling on which one you picked. I'm just going to bet with my heart, my 5 points are going towards Astrobot.
Yeah, I'll bet with not my heart, but just my understanding of what everybody's loving, and I'm going to go with Metaphor.
Metaphor?
Yeah.
All right. If we both lose and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth gets it, it'd be sad.
I'll be it'll be bittersweet. I lost points, but I'm really happy that Final Fantasy won Game of the Year. So it'll be bittersweet.
I was say I actually don't think I'd be mad with anyone winning except for Shadow of the Erdtree.
Yeah,
just because it's an expansion.
Just because it's an expansion, but we're not gonna lie, that's probably the best experience we've had this year. I think so.
Yeah.
I thought that it was like damn near flawless. I just don't like it being a Game of the Year because I think new games should be represented here.
Yeah, true. Although I will say, I still think Astrobot.
Yeah?
Just because it was brand new.
It's brand new.
And that game was like a 12 out of 10 for me.
I got to
was
play
so
it,
good.
man. I got to play
So
it.
good. All right. Next up, what celebrity do you think will be there? Now, there's 2 people that have already been announced, so there's stipulations with this one. So you can't vote Snoop Dogg, and you can't vote the flute guy, because they've both been confirmed for the Game Awards.
Okay, there's another one who's been... I didn't watch Breaking Bad, but who is his partner in Breaking Bad?
Aaron Paul?
He's going to be there, too.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
He's
so-
already been confirmed?
Yeah, so we can't vote
Okay,
him.
so those 3 ruled out. Now, mind you, we're recording this on Sunday, the third before the Game Awards, which is on Thursday. So, if you're listening to this episode before the Game Awards and you're like, oh, they announced someone else, that counts for us because they weren't announced at the time of posting. So, what with those 3 barred off, who do you think? What points would you like to put in?
I'm putting in... I think it's a safe bet because I don't really care which celebrity shows up.
Yeah.
But I think Keanu Reeves is showing up again. Sonic's right around the corner. He needs to come out and tell everybody how breathtaking they are. I'm thinking Keanu.
Yeah. I think since he's safe, probably 3 points, 3 out of 10. You think?
Why would I do that? Why don't I just go 10 points?
Well, no, because you can't.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's too easy. It's too safe.
All right, 3 points.
Doing Kid Icarus for 10 points, it makes sense
All
because he's been gone.
I'm putting 3 points on Keanu.
3 points on Keanu.
Save me, Keanu.
I'll raise up. I think mine will be worth 2 more points, just because there's less of a chance. But 5 points on Ella Purnell.
Oh, that's pretty safe.
Okay, I'll put it down to 4. She hasn't made an appearance and doesn't have a movie coming out.
No, but
She does have Fallout
I feel like Arcane.
Actually, she's going to be there.
She's gonna be there.
She's in two of the categories. She's there for Fallout and Arcane. They both got nominated.
She's gonna be there. It's gonna be her. Yeah, she has to be there.
She doesn't have to be there. She won't win the award because she wasn't. There's no actor nominee for the adaptions.
But you don't think she'll go up there to accept it?
No.
Well,
actually, I mean, I'm betting that she will. But
she absolutely will. Her and Haley Steinfeld will absolutely be.
Yeah, but if Haley goes up there, I get no points.
That is true.
So I'll put. I'd say it's about as safe as Keanu. I'll do 3 points, but I'm still locked in Ella Purnell. Okay. It's also because I just have a massive crush on her.
Dang.
But yeah, she's awesome. All right. So the next question, though, this one, I hate that I asked this because now I have to keep track of it. But how many world premieres will there be at the show? Not including the pre-show. I'm only counting once.
Are we allowed to look at how many were in last year to get an idea? Because it's like how are we supposed to even guess in the right ballpark? 50, 20?
Well, whoever's closer gets the points.
Okay. What are you guessing?
48.
48?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do 47.
Oh, that's rude. That is rude. Okay. If there's less than 47,
yeah,
you win.
I'll do 47.
If there's higher than 48, I win.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Okay. So 48 and 47. Fantastic. Love the closeness.
Yeah.
Next one. This one's gonna be fun. I'm gonna make this one worth 5 points just because it's like the game of the year one. We'll go right down the middle. Whoever's closest on this one gets all the points. How long will the longest acceptance speech be?
Oh, what was that? 9 minutes? That one?
Yeah,
time?
9 minutes was Christopher Judge's.
Okay, I don't think that will ever be allowed again. And they've been wrapping them up. Right, last year they kept wrapping them up.
But they've been getting shit for that.
Yeah, they got shit for wrapping them up. So there's a in between. Wrap it up soon, I assume, which will be around like 5 minutes.
You think the longest one will be 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think the longest one will be 5 minutes.
I'm gonna go with 7 minutes.
7 minutes?
I think 7 minutes. I think some guy's gonna get out there, start crying, and they're gonna be like, wrap it up, and he's gonna be like, no.
Wrap it up. No, I don't think I will.
So mine's 7 minutes, yours 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If it's, whichever one's closer will get the points on that one. And then you threw this one in, which is, you're going to be keeping track of this.
Yeah. How many F-bombs will there be?
And that includes in trailers, by the way. So
yeah, any F-bombs. Not just all F-bombs.
Not presenters. What do you think? What's your number?
26.
26?
26. Don't say 25.
I'm going to go 30. I'm going to go higher. I'm going to go higher. All right. So we've got those locked in. Those are our questions. And with your help, audience, listeners, dearest friends and family, you will determine what our punishment and award shall be. So we look forward to your suggestions. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or email, honestly, if you want to. But yeah, or in the YouTube comments or Spotify comments. I think there's Spotify comments. But yeah, let us know. And we will report back to you on our next episode when the show is over.
We might need time depending on how thorough the reward or punishment may be.
True. Be patient with us.
Because if I have to talk in an Italian accent the entire time, I'm going to need to study. Okay?
You cook the pizza.
No, I'm not doing that.
Don't pull a video game donkey.
No video game donkey. No video game donkey Italian accent.
All right. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to get on our last topic here with language defining games.
Yeah.
And this week, Troy's got a game for us. What you got?
So I brought this game because I think that it's topical, as in it is a game that won Game of the Year. I think that it was one of the
I've watched Game of the Year or the Game Awards for a while. How long have they been around?
10 years.
10 years. So, yeah, this is the 10th anniversary. I don't know if I watched the very first one, but I remember this is one of the first times I felt like I had any skin in the game. Is when this game came out, it blew my mind. I did so many things to try and get this game. I'll tell you about how I acquired it when we go over it. But I'm talking about Breath of the Wild, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. As I'm not the biggest like Nintendo fan, so I didn't have any urge to get a Switch. I didn't care at all. But then I remember that this game came out and I kept seeing trailers of him climbing everything for the first time. I didn't know that was even... I think that was the first time I saw it happen in a game where you could climb everything.
Yep.
Him cooking was one of the things that were extremely memorable to me. Him throwing a bunch of random stuff in a pot, watching the actual little physical models of everything bounce around until you made a meal. I was addicted to that and just the sense of adventure. And when I worked at this company, there's this girl who would bring in her Switch, and on breaks she would play Breath of the Wild, and I would just watch her play it because I was just like, I want this game so bad. So I would take any opportunity I could to see the game. And that goes against pretty much everything I believe in, which is spoilers. Like, I hate spoilers to death, but I didn't care. I knew that I would play that game to no end. And I just didn't care what I watched. And so it really kind of defined how I appreciate open world games and how I kind of look at how well a art style can carry a game. Well, not carry a game, but can yield a game's sense of like identity. So,
no, great choice. I am also a huge fan of this game.
Yeah.
But let's get into the defining questions here. Because I'm very happy and I'm excited to see what you have to say about this game. But the first one is, how's the story of this game, and how'd you feel about it?
So for Breath of the Wild, I actually didn't mind the story. I liked it. It's hard to, because of how similar Tears of the Kingdom is to it, and how long ago I played it. It's hard to like make sure that I don't grab things from Tears of the Kingdom and put it in there, because it's those two are very interchangeable. But when I played the game, I enjoyed the story. I liked. I had an emotional. I still to this day have an emotional, like, reaction to the thought of, and this is spoilers, so guys, get over it. The thought of each of those champions being deceased, and you only really seeing memories of them. I know the story was told in a way where you had to go and pick up these different things to get the information, but I'm not gonna lie, I just followed a guide at one point because I wanted to see the concise story. But even though the characters were not present in the moment-to-moment gameplay because they had all died, I was like, I still remember them fondly. Yeah. And it was almost like, it was really cool that they were able to put together a, how do you say it? Like, I felt like I had those memories with them by the way that they designed the game. Not my preferred method of storytelling, but the story I did get, I enjoyed.
Yeah. No, people are mixed on the story with that game, but it did characters right.
Yeah.
Rivali still stands out to me. So does Mipha.
And I think that characters are important to story for me. So sometimes the journey might not be that interesting, but the characters who are there for that journey help me stay interested in the story.
Yeah. Next up is, you already touched it a little bit, but how about them visuals?
Damn, dude. Damn. I've never been so seen before. It is like as if they're like, Troy, we know exactly what your favorite art style is. We're going to take a little bit of Studio Ghibli. We're going to take a little bit of, like, I don't know, Lord of the Rings in a sense, and like mix them together and just make the most colorful and wonderful looking game I've ever seen. It's like, it's got to be my favorite video game art style. Link, I'm like obsessed with the way that Link looks, his design, just the way that all of Hyrule looks in that game is obviously being imitated by so many different things nowadays because of how striking the visuals were. They knocked it out of the park. I love the way the game looks.
Yeah.
And the effects, I don't think that a lot of the fire effects and like things were 2D. I don't think that they were, but they looked like it. Like they looked hand drawn or like painted. It just looked very good.
It was a mixture of both, but it did a very good job of selling the visual style.
Yeah,
but making it feel 3D and sustenance, or like that it had weight there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love the visuals as well of this game. How'd you feel about the music?
Oh, dude. So it was sparing. If I remember correctly, it was sparing, but when it hit, it hit. There was what is it? Every time I went to go listen to one of the tales from the Rito guy, yeah, it was cool to talk to him and listen to him play the what is that, accordion? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the music that was there was effective. It's almost like it's like when you go to one of those like meat grills, like Rio de Janeiro grill, you know, when they bring all the meats by and they give you the meat and you're just like, damn, that's good. But it's gone already because they just gave me a couple bites. They bring you the next one. Damn, that's good. All right, it's gone already because they gave me a couple bites. That's how the music was, it was what I got was succulent and like wonderful when they gave it to me. I would have liked to have been like blasted in my ears with the music the entire time, but I did like what I got.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the horse music, the piano.
Yeah. And like the way that the music would creep in when it was gonna turn into the red moon. It's like yeah, like there's a lot of creeping music, like the way that it would come in, and so I quite liked it.
Yeah. Now, next part was gameplay.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the gameplay of Breath of the Wild?
So that's what's funny. So I liked the gameplay then, don't like it now, because when it was first introduced, Breath of the Wild, it's a new thing, right? Mm-hmm. So there's so much for me to discover on my limitations and what I could and couldn't do. I'm very big on trying to utilize all of the combat when I can. I'm also a very thematic person, so I like themes for specific things. So I'm going to talk about like pretty much everything that involved gameplay from this was, I think, the first time I played a game where I could just glide at any point, which was game changing and so much fun to just get as high as I could and glide around. I love that. The ability to effectively attack or like have an impact on everything around you, from taking a hammer and breaking or taking a blunt weapon and breaking down bricks, or like cutting down trees so that the trees would roll down and like run over enemies, pushing rocks over so that they fall on enemies, or to go bowling, pushing rocks. There was a lot of the gameplay was imaginative. It was technically lacking in the combat department,
just in the sword swinging.
Yeah, just in the combat department, because it was kind of mashing the same buttons. But I didn't really recognize that when I played Breath of the Wild. It was when I played Tears of the Kingdom that it really stuck out to me. Yeah. Because I was looking for that to iterate, because it's like you did everything perfect. Honestly, so perfect that you did everything else so perfect I didn't really think about the sword combat, because I was too busy trying other things, that when it came time to do combat again in the follow-up, I wanted it to be more expressive and like have more than just mashing the same button. But like, that's not to say when I did play the original, I was obsessed with all the animations of all the weapons. So like when I went to specific areas, I would only allow myself to use certain weapons in that area. So when I was doing the lava area, what is the name of the guys in the lava area?
Gorons.
The Gorons, I would only use great swords. When I was in Hyrule, like just generally running around Hyrule, I would use my sword and shield. When I was what are the guys who swim?
Zora.
The Zora. When I was in the Zora area, I would only use the spears. So I was like, every specific area I would go and grind out weapons for that area, and I still do that in Tears of the Kingdom 2. Now I'm just like crafting them together. But in Breath of the Wild, I would go and find weapons that are unique to that zone, and then I'd only use that weapon in that zone. So that was like really fun for me.
Yeah. Now, last question. What was the impact this game had on you?
It ruined open world games for me. It literally did. It ruined them, because if they don't have the same level of like interactability, I get like not upset or anything, but kind of just uninterested. Not being able to go to a tree and chop a tree down is like, I don't know. It's ruined for me.
It feels more like, I would say like now in Breath of the Wild was more like a sandbox, like an actual sandbox. You could build the castles, and whatever like trees were in there, they'd allow you to smack them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, to use like an example, like FF7 Rebirth or a Ubisoft game, when they don't have that interaction, like an Assassin's Creed, you go to a tree, you're in a sand castle that isn't made of sand. It's made of plastic, and you're not allowed to break it anymore.
Yeah.
You are allowed to walk in its predestined paths.
Yeah.
But if you ever try to change it or mold it, get out of here.
Yeah. There's goods and bads to both designs, but I've found that if I could have that level of interactability that game has, and you know how I am about like physical models existing in the game. So like every single piece of fruit and item that you use to cook is in the game, and you can carry it and just drop it and watch it roll around.
You want to know what's the craziest part about that too? Every single one of those items has a frozen and burned state, and a semi-burned state before it gets destroyed.
Like being able to grab a couple of apples and drop them next to a fire to cook them is such a small thing, but it was very important to me. And so the impact that this game has had on me is completely affected the way that I look at open world games, so much so that I don't even really play them anymore, because I normally get bored by not having that level of interactability at my fingertips to keep me not immersed, but engaged everywhere I'm going, you know? It kind of just changed my
Changed open world games.
Yeah, it changed my appreciation for open world games.
It's funny, just as we're talking about it too, though, how much it's changed other video games other than just your own view.
Yeah,
like every game has a fucking glider now.
Every game has a glider. We were just talking about Supervive has a glider. Every game has a glider now because they kind of unlocked the fun way to use them. Not that gliders didn't exist before Breath of the Wild, but something about the way that it was. It
hadn't really ever been used in an open world exploration game.
No,
like you used it as like Knuckles or Batman.
Yeah, I guess in the Batman games that's where gliding was prominent.
Yeah,
in the Batman Arkham games you would glide everywhere, but something about the way Breath of the Wild did it has been imitated in so many different games, for better, because I think it's a mechanic that's important. Now, if every single game can let you climb everything like you can, that would be such a cool like era of gaming to live in.
Yeah, it's true. It's such a crazy game. Well, thanks for bringing that one, to be honest. It's great to see another Legend of Zelda game be in the genre-defining language-defining game section. So, thank you for that. But we're going to wrap up our episode. We're here at the end, so thank you all for listening. Going to leave you with some video game vocab right before we get to vinyl credits. And the vocabulary word today is input buffering. An input buffer is a temporary storage area used in computing to hold data being received from an input device, such as a keyboard or a mouse. It allows the system to receive and process input at its own pace, rather than being dependent on the speed at which the input is provided. Sounds confusing? Well, in game language, input buffering is storing players' inputs for multiple frames. Usually this is done to make performing a sequence of actions easier, like using an attack and then jumping. If the attack takes 20 frames and the player press jump on frame 19, with input buffering, they'll still get the jump. So, there you go. Input buffering is awesome. It can be bad, but it also is mostly good. All right. It's time for final credits, and this time, it's Troy's turn.
It is, and I've got something to say. But let's get into it. It's time for the final credits. This is the last part of the show where we give you 30 seconds
uninterrupted
to say whatever your heart desires.
Be it salty,
sweet,
or say nothing at all.
The mic is mine.
Tell us what's on your mind.
In 3, 2. So, insta-locking DPS. I want to talk about it. Y'all are bitches. You don't do that. Do you just walk into a place and say, hey, I'm not going to help anyone at all? I just want to, I'm walking in my house, put your feet on my couch and be like, yeah, this is where I live. I'm the main character now. Don't insta-lock DPS. When you play team games, it's your job to help the team. Look, try different things. Variety is the spice of life, Do you just eat meat every day? That's all you fucking do? Like, don't insta-lock DPS, you're a bitch. Help the team out. Game Language is recorded at Grizzly Voices Studios in Mesa, Arizona. Our producers are Jason Flynn and Troy Brown. Our intro music is our personal track, Penguin Symphony. Our outro music is Jump by Snail's House, also provided by Riot Music. Our editor and sound engineer is Adonis Shiflin.